Hello, and welcome to another episode of the PM Podcast. We are so excited because today we are talking all things program coordinator. So, very exciting. But before we get started, of course, as always, I'm Lauren Rooney, one of the regional sales directors here at PracticeMatch. And of course, I am joined by my esteemed colleague, Mr. Gary. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Mr. Gary.
Well, thank you, Lauren. Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here. Hi, everybody. My name is Gary Vancor, client account manager here with Practice Match for a very long time now. Well, with Practice Match for 8 years or so. But today, excited, like you said, talking about program coordinators, which is something we've never had a chance to tackle before. So I'm very interested in getting my fingers into a new subject.
Yes, very exciting. So, our friend Deb Williams, of course, on our tech team, she had all the things to do with interviewing some amazing coordinators, both at AAFP as well as our in person career fair in Kansas City. So, we are happy to share some of the insights that we learned from them. We were using questions that were given to us by you, our clients, the recruiters that use our system every day and are curious about how to connect best with program coordinators. So, let's get into it.
All right, so our first question, folks, we have what is the best way to share information and job details with residents? So, to give you guys some insight here, we actually have a video, a little clip from the actual interview here that we had with Alyssa. She is a family medicine resident coordinator, and she's from Pennsylvania, UPMC. Let's check out what she had to say as an answer.
A lot of the times, email is the best way. I will take the email and disperse the information to the residents so that they're not being bogged down, overwhelmed with a ton of emails. And then coming from me, they know it's a little bit more legitimate and sincere, and I can give them all the details in case they have questions. I can also answer those questions for them, and we can get it done that way.
All right, so pretty straightforward, folks. Email. Email is the best way to get things established, to make that initial communication if you want to connect with residents. But we're emailing the coordinators here, which is something a little different because I know you guys are already emailing candidates directly. But emailing the coordinators, this concept makes a lot of sense because we kind of think about it here. Who's the most reliable resource to a resident? Who's the person they're absolutely going to believe, they're going to trust, they're going to feel comfortable connecting with? It's probably their coordinator. That's almost like a mother or father figure to them in that stage of their lives. So if you can get through to them, send an email to that coordinator and make that connection, make yourself credible, they're going to pass that along to their residents, and the residents are going to look at that as gold. So
Yeah.
we need to be using this a little more frequently, folks.
Yeah, it's interesting because if you're a client of Practice Match, you may or may not know that we do have a program search available to you within our Pinpoint database. So very easy for you to be able to look up by specialty, by location, the residency programs that you're looking to connect with. And with one simple click, you can basically get most of the coordinators' information as well. So you can email them directly right from there and find out that information. Now, these relationships with the residencies and especially the residency coordinators are very important to us at Practice Match because this is how we get our interviews, right? We establish our connection with these residency programs and coordinators, and we get on the phone and we interview the residents so that we can provide you all with the database of detailed information on those residents. So we're careful about that because I think there's a two-way street here, right? There's communication, there's consistent communication so that you get your message across, but there's also respect that has to go into it, right? So we don't want to be bombarding those folks, but I think both Gary and I were pleasantly surprised by all of the interviews that we had with the program coordinators in that they are welcoming of this information. So long as it's done in a respectful way, they're saying, hey, reach out to us. We are the ones that will then give that information to the residents. And another thing I think that I took away from this is to think about your connection with the coordinator as one of your huge touch points, right? We always talk about touch points here at Practice Match because the evidence shows it takes 12 plus touch points in some cases to get a response from a candidate. Okay. So, what does that mean? It means how is your brand established, right? An email to a candidate is a touch point, a text, a call, geofence campaign, a postcard campaign. Maybe your organization has billboards in the area so that the brand is very easily recognizable. These are all touch points. And if we think about establishing and maintaining a relationship with the program coordinator, and then they are passing information, your name, your open opportunities, anything else that you have to communicate to the residents via their program coordinator, hey, that's a huge touch point. That's a huge bridge to them saying, oh, so and so reached out to me a couple of times already. I've seen that name, I've seen that job opportunity. It really legitimizes it, don't you think, Gary?
Amen. Amen. If you want to get to me, get to someone close to me. I think
Hmm.
that's just kind of a general kind of way to connect in general with life.
Yep.
You can reach out to me directly. If I don't know you, or I'm not begging for your information, I'm not going to give it as much attention.
Right.
So yes, use these coordinators because again, they are such important pieces to their lives as their residents. So go out, reach out to the coordinators, be of value to the
Yep.
coordinators.
Yep.
Because you have to establish that relationship. Just don't say, "Hey, here's my job, send it to your residents." Let's show them that you care about them as well. They are
Yeah.
people.
That's a great
So,
point, Gary. You want to cultivate that relationship with the coordinator the same way you would be cultivating the relationship with the residents directly or the
yes.
candidates directly. So that kind of leads really nicely into the second question that we had from our clients. What is the best way to establish and maintain a good relationship with coordinators? And Kelly, the program coordinator at UTN Health Sciences, had a great thing to say. Let's check it out.
The coordinator, I feel like everything just kind of trickles through us. The program director kind of goes to us for things. So having a strong relationship with the program coordinator and then kind of having that person talk to the other leadership
Okay. And
continually.
just kind of piggybacking off of that,
Yeah,
what's the best way for recruiters to kind of get in contact with you to kind of establish that relationship?
email.
Email.
Email is probably the best.
Okay.
And then maybe like a phone conversation, like setting up that through email and then having some kind of like either phone or maybe even Zoom meeting.
Yeah, so I think Kelly really alludes to the fact that the program coordinators, again, they're really the heartbeat of the residency. They're working directly with the residents and their crazy schedules. They kind of know their details of their lives and when they're doing overnights and things like that, stuff that we would never know when we're reaching out to them. And also the program directors, right? And everything as a whole. We also had some questions about whether coordinators and programs like to establish connections with other hospitals. And resoundingly, the answer was yes. That's really their job, right? Their job is to cultivate these residents as they go through that program, make sure that everything is on par because they're a little busy, the residents. They're a little busy learning how to take care of people and saving lives, just a little bit. So the coordinators, I think, are a great way for you to kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We have a lot of clients that already have really well established relationships with program coordinators and things like that. But for those that don't, I think this is a real eye opener that it's a good place to start.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed. And now, when you're getting into this, if it's your first time reaching out to a coordinator, I want to bring this back up again. Connecting with them is important as a person. Just trying to, get to know them, make that real connection as a person with the coordinator. We heard that in the video, but do some homework. Do a little bit of digging to see what is the big deal about that program. How does your hospital group, your clinic, your facility connect with them in certain ways? You want to show that you have interest in them so that they'll actually return that favor and have interest in you. So, like, take your time before you reach out. Don't just make it a copy and paste kind of a message. Be as personal as you can because that's going to help you stand out.
Yep.
They're saying that they're welcome to these incoming emails, but how do you make your email seem more personal and not just like a spam blast that everyone else would be sending?
Yeah,
So,
that's a
take that
great
time.
point. It's really a long game, right? I don't know about
Yeah.
you, Gary, but in my experience thus far, some of the most successful recruiters are the ones that really cultivate those relationships with residents, even when they're in medical school, right? A lot of medical students will come to conferences and things like that, and I know it can be hard to spend the time and money to go to a conference, and not maybe come away, or even a career fair, and not come away with a direct hire that's going to fill one of your spots right now. But if you really think about it in the long term and you establish those relationships with the residents and the coordinators, you're going to be benefiting yourself a few years down the line. Those openings are going to continue to be there. They're going to continue to grow, hopefully, as we all grow in our organizations. And those that really establish a good relationship early on and care about what those physicians, what these people want out of their careers and their lives, those are the recruiters I think that are the best off.
Absolutely. Yeah, don't try to just get your plants out of the ground, plant your seed, let them grow, fertilize it properly, watch the leaves pop out. I think it goes back to something we do as at Practice Match here, and I remember this when we were out in San Diego earlier this year for AAN. A lot of people that would come to our booth that we spoke with were either medical students or just matching, and they were completely clueless about the process when it
Yeah.
comes to looking for a job and when do I even get started. I mean, we even had a couple of second, third year residents who were like, "Oh, I'll get started next month." Like, you're already 2 years late, buddy.
Yeah.
So, us offering that resource to them where they can now understand the process. Here's a booklet that walks you through step by step. Here's a digital copy you can scan to learn about how you should be going about things. That's how you establish those relationships
Hmm.
early on, like you said, the long game. Because now that we've started helping them as medical school students,
Hmm.
they're thinking of us like, okay, let me go back to them when I actually need a job.
Yep.
Who do you guys know that's a client that has this position that I could fill? So that's how we make those connections using the long game. So
Yeah.
that's what we
Become
need
their
to be thinking
friends.
here.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
And that's
Be
a
their
good
number one
segue.
resource.
Good segue too into our next question, which is what are the ways that recruiters can connect with residents or fellows to talk about available job opportunities along with educational components? So, great
Mm.
question there. And I'd like to kick it over to Gladys. Gladys is a family medicine program coordinator for Advent Health, and she had some good things to say here.
I think one of the best ways is to find out who the coordinator is for the program and reach out to the coordinator, and you can do it virtually because we do have Zoom conferences. So you can do it virtually. And of course, in person is great because if you bring food, they love that.
Yeah, so Gladys made a great point, right? Not only are we establishing our relationship with our coordinators, but then what are we offering to those programs, right? It's not just, hey, me, this is what I need. But what do you need? Maybe it's just as simple as a nice bit of food, huh, Gary?
Yes, I live by the motto, Lauren, of good food equals good mood. So please give me something to eat, a nice treat, and I will sit in my seat and we can talk. Like it's
Yep.
very simple. A platter equals chatter. You know, I'm all about feed me if you want to speak to me. Sorry, the lines are just they're just
I
pouring
love
out of
it.
me. All
I
right, let me
love it.
shut up.
But
Let me
not for nothing, if you've ever been to a conference, and I know Gary and I have,
Mhm.
doctors love some free stuff. Okay. So what can we offer them? Whether it's actual stuff like food or things like that. And not all programs are alike. It may not be the rules in every program that that's okay. Obviously, at Gladys's program, she's more than happy to have that. But it could be information, right? I know I worked with a client here at Practice Match whose wife was in law for contracts. And so they kind of have their own little thing they put on the road to go to residency programs and give them some information on contracts, and that way, not only can he establish relationships as a recruiter, but she can establish relationships as a lawyer that does this contract kind of negotiation for
Yeah.
physicians. So think outside of the box. What offerings can we make as we're maintaining and establishing our relationships with these coordinators as far as how we can help them provide things for their residents?
Yeah, yes. And we have to think outside of the box now, folks. We are in a market now that is highly competitive to say the very least. So, yeah, you need to continue reaching out to the residents via your email, calls, text campaigns. You know, do what you need to do with that direct approach. But this absolutely needs to be the next level that you're adding into your outreach because these coordinators are not just open to having this communication with you, but they are a huge piece of the puzzle, especially in residency. So you want that extra connection, credibility, do it and do something different so you stand out. Now, kind of keeping up with that theme here, we have a little bonus here where we talked about another outside the box way to make that connection. So this next one here is all about social media, using social media to make those connections with residents. So we've got another little clip here from Gladys again. She's such a great resource for us. Thank you, Gladys. Let's see what she had to say on the topic.
The younger generation, they love being on their iPhones So definitely by emails,
Okay.
even Facebook, putting stuff out by Facebook.
Wow.
They're always on those social media, and so that's a good way to reach out to them. But we just had our first income, our first year class starting this year, and they're like, I want my picture so I could put it on my LinkedIn profile. So that's one way to reach out to them.
Okay.
Because they're very present in LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Okay, so Gladys is letting us know outside of emails. Next step, take it to social media, and Facebook has been a huge resource.
That really
I mean,
surprised me, Gary. I got to be honest. Even on in my side of the world, I was like, "Huh, interesting." I never really thought about Facebook and maybe some other social media platforms if you are so technologically advanced to think that way. But if you've ever met someone in their 20s, and let's face it, 30s and 40s as well, everybody's faces are in our phones, right? Whether or not that's healthy for us, which I think it's well established it's not, it is what it is, right? That is where we go. So, how can we meet these folks? Exactly. How can we meet these folks where they are at and put our messages, put our touch points in front of them in that way? Use these social medias to establish that connection. Facebook is interesting. I am excited, Gary, because I assume you'll be maybe making some suggestions to some of your clients about that and maybe see where that goes. But LinkedIn, to me, it should be a no-brainer. But to be honest with you, on my side of the world, as a sales director here at PracticeMatch, I'm using LinkedIn every single day. And it kind of shocks me how few of our prospective clients, recruiters out there don't even have a LinkedIn established, or if they do, it doesn't have a picture, it doesn't have information, they're not putting up posts, right, Gary? It's a real problem.
I'll take your shock value and add anger for me. Because as an account manager, like my job, it's very important for me to establish best practices with my clients. And one of the most common sense practices, at least I would think, is establishing yourself as an individual, someone who's credible, someone who's trustworthy, to the public because I'm reaching out to people at random. And the easiest way to get that done is LinkedIn. We all know it's a professional platform. So if you're not on there, you're automatically going to be a red flag to a lot of these people because they use that as a chance to do some background research on who you are.
Right.
So you need to have that profile set up
Yep.
before you send out an email. And if anything, you need to have it set up and have the link to your LinkedIn profile in your signature
Hmm.
because you know they want to find out who you are. They want to make sure you're not spam, you're someone legit, someone they
Make it
can
easy
trust.
for them, right?
Yes,
Hmm.
yes. And once they go on to that, if you have certain LinkedIn accounts, you can actually see who's viewing your profile.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
a great way to generate some leads just from your emails.
yeah.
So
So let's
why are
talk
we
about
not using this?
Right. So let's talk about what does that mean, right? So it could be 10, 15 minutes a day that we're going onto LinkedIn and we're finding maybe it's residents or practicing physicians on LinkedIn that are suitable in our area, whatnot. Connect with them. You don't necessarily even have to send a note, honestly. Some of them will accept just because you're in the zeitgeist, right, of healthcare. And once they accept your connection, then on LinkedIn, you're establishing a real network of these folks. And again, it's all about who everybody knows and everything branches out from there. From that point, you want to make sure that you're posting somewhat consistently. Aim for 2 or 3 posts a week at least. And these posts should be mixed up. It should be informational posts, maybe things you can share things from your organization if they have a good LinkedIn established, and even personal things, right? A vacation pic or something you found funny. I just posted one from going to the Phillies game over the weekend with the Philly fanatic, right? Share some glimpses into your personal life a little bit so that, again, like Gary said, they want to know that they're working with another human who cares about them on a human level. So those are just a couple of tips. You can Google it. You can use ChatGPT to really establish a good way of working that out. And I know that it feels like a lot of work, just like sourcing, right? It feels like a lot of work up front for maybe not immediate reward. But once that gets built every single day, it's going to make that process that much better and help you establish that. I'm telling you, it's a really low percentage of recruiters that I see out there that are actually utilizing that resource, that free resource, very well. And Furthermore, if you need assistance with this, that's what we're here for, right? As Gary mentioned, talk to your client account manager. If you're a client of ours here at Practice Match, these are the things we want to help you with. These are the tips and tricks that we can work together to make sure that we're crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's. That's important so that we can have as many touch points with these folks as possible.
Listen, folks, I can tell you right now, I am a LinkedIn connoisseur at this point because my profile is so good that after the last time we had a PM podcast episode premiere, I posted something on my page, and apparently it's led to someone looking at my profile. And before you know it, I was receiving a message asking me out on a date.
With their
So
cousin, though.
yes, with their cousin. Still, I have to say that something on my profile was very well put together,
You just
and
never
they
know.
decided this is a great contact to connect my family. If someone's willing to connect you with their family members, that means they have a very high impression of you.
Very
And if
true.
you need someone to help you build that profile to have that great impression as well, you know what to do.
It works. It's just really, I mean, I know there are only so many hours in a day, but I can tell
Yeah.
you that it's a really important piece of the puzzle, and I'm so glad that Gladys shared that information from her direct experience with the kids, I guess, that are incoming residents now. So we want to give a huge thank you to all of the coordinators that helped participate. Of course, Deb Williams here on our team who coordinates everything behind the scenes. But we hope that you got a lot of information out of this. Again, don't hesitate to reach out to us, client or non-client. If you need some information, we've got lots of resources for you. We will be back with another podcast before you know it. Until then, thanks so much for joining us. Hope you have a great rest of your day.